Once upon a time, memory lived in cathedrals. Then it moved to books, paintings, and film. And now it lives in a 15-second videos echoing the rhythm of a trending sound. Today's question is, what if social media is the new museum or theater, if you will? A place where nostalgia dances, where history becomes choreography, where the archives of emotion are tagged, stitched, and reshared. With me, as always, in these wild conversations, my co pilot for the moment and cultural compass, Mr. Tian, a deep thinker and the kind of person who sees patterns where most of us scroll. I'm Vivian, and this is Cosecha Salvaje Wild Thoughts. Let's dive in. We ready? Yeah. So, we enter in a time where memes carry more emotional weight than headlines, and dance can resurrect a cultural memory. So TikTok, YouTube, Threads, Facebook even, they become massive archives of how we feel collectively, don't they?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I think they're a giant reflection of usness, if that makes sense. It, they are us, and it's always been. This isn't a new
New
thing
thing,
in any
yeah.
sense or form. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We, you know, people built temples to show off power and skill.
We
And
build
now
pages.
we make TikToks and flash our millions. It's still essentially the same thing. So the media is kind of a reflection of us, really, more than anything. I mean, I guess the form of media has changed so much that it's kind of taken over the conversation a little bit. It's never been possible for the average person to just have a conversation with everyone. You know.
At the same time, yes, to meet
Yeah,
people.
exactly. Yeah,
Uh, I guess what this like social media does is like the new photograph album or a video album, like something that we used to do with the VHS. I never had one, but the people who had, watching their old videos and old Christmas and birthday parties and just having that moment. But now you can just take other people's input into that memory. It's like enhancing that feeling of being related with other people, something that for you is cute besides the haters, because I mean they're there. But at least 10 people will find it beautiful and cute, and they will like comment on it, you know it's
yeah,
quite interesting, specifically because we had Facebook from like the beginning of our times, I think. And I think it's more a tool from millennials and like older generation, tailored, because it's more like a newspaper kind of thing. It
yeah,
became the new book, yes. But Instagram and TikTok, it's more like going to the theater or you know, going to the museum, except that you don't get to see it once. You get to see it as many times as you want to, and the material you also don't get like one premiere. Like when you go to the theater or the opera or the museum, even you need to pay every time you go, and in theater sometimes you might see the same version or you might see changes in characters, but here you can get to see the same video 1,000 times, or if you want remixes you can always just keep looking in the video, you will see the same video multiplied by 1,000. Is it this changing or view in terms of culture? I mean, is it altering, is it making it better, or or not really? It's just something on the
no,
side.
no, 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 no. Look, the problem is people don't understand what is this company Facebook. We think of it as this tool that we use to connect with other people and to share our, and it's true. It is all of those things, but we don't stop and ask, okay, well, how does all of this work? Why is Meta one of the richest companies in the bloody world? You know, we don't stop and think about that. And that's because, well, you kind of are one of Neo's little pod people sitting there with, you attached yourself to the machine, you know, um, because that's what they do. And we discussed this last time. These systems are, especially the ones like Instagram and TikTok, they're geared towards maximum engagement, to have the most people watch it for the longest time, because they're an advertising company. They sell ads. And the more individual views they have, the more product they have. Okay. This is you and your minute spent is their product. It's what they're selling. So it's gonna I mean, if they were even half as good at businessmen as I think they are, this would have been a pretty rudimentary thing that you could implement to suck people in. You know, it would have been bad business not to do it. I bet, MySpace left this space for a reason. It simply wasn't engaging enough.
I never had MySpace, but
You
I
know
don't
me.
even know how it works. I think it was just like a Substack kind of thing, I would say.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You could post little videos. It was basically a blog little thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, because I never had. I think what's more
Yeah.
interesting, even the if we're talking about like artistic media now, the artistic field in general, like you cannot go now to any type of presentation or concert or if I mean theater and opera, I think are the only ones that still restrict any kind of usage of social media or cell phones. They kind of keep preserving that, but you can go anywhere, museums, even cinema, and people will use their phone to capture a moment. And I found
Yeah.
it really interesting that even artists, not the new age artists, because they were born with that. I think they really understood that what you were saying. Like if the more famous I am on social media, more famous I will be and more reach in a way.
Yes.
But the artists, like core artists from the old ages, like Ozzy Osbourne and Style, things like that. When they go to their new concerts, they actually get upset because I mean they have new generations of fans because that's what social media has done for them. They brought them to this new era, but there is also
Yeah.
this confusion like, okay, I'm here, you're coming to my concerts, it's full sold out, but nobody's watching me. and
Yeah.
and some of them are complaining about it, like, and even I've seen videos of
Like
people say
everybody's
like,
there to
shut
film.
it. Yes, exactly, and they're
Yeah.
like getting super upset with the public. It's like shut it, like watch the actual show. I mean, they spent
Yeah.
I don't know how many hours a month creating this massive production, because it's a production which I don't think we understand how it works, you know
Hmm.
but yeah, like people just don't go to the concert to see the concert. They go to see the screen where they're taping the entire concert. And yes, given massive publicity and all you want. But
Yeah.
I think we replace it. And I think this is also a problem. Everything is a problem after pandemic. Everything changed. It's a new normal indeed, but it definitely changed how we consume art in a way.
Yeah. Uh, uh, certainly. I mean, obviously, there is a good and a bad side to it. Like the good side being now we can, spread art to people who might not have had access before. Okay, fair. The other one is the scenario you were talking about, where somebody goes to a hell of a lot of trouble to buy tickets and go to a show and stand in line for a $20 beer, and then spend the whole time trying to get a better shot on their phone. It's silliness, and it's a human silliness, and because of stuff like that, I wouldn't be surprised if you see more and more people say, "Hey, listen, this is a phone-free zone." Yeah, yeah, because and I don't necessarily think that would be a terribly bad thing. Get people off their phones for a little bit, but the phone is just it's just such a presence. Like at that concert, everybody there could be live streaming, and all of them could be streaming it to millions of people. That might be one argument. Okay, now you have a lot more reach, but I get it. You're kind of cheapening it. You're cheapening. It's the same with art. All of us have seen a picture of the Mona Lisa. There is almost no way in the world you could convince me to go stand in that line. You know, none whatsoever. Okay, amazing painting. Don't care. We've seen this before with like famous pieces of art. They look better in the digital photographs because they use all kind of fancy spectronomy and whatever to take really good pictures of these things, and they just don't live up to the picture in real life because the lighting is a little bit and but
What
yes,
happened to us in
yes,
Genoa
yes.
where we saw, I forgot the name of that famous painting.
And the Last Supper. Yeah,
Exactly, that it was
yeah.
darker.
Oh man, it's very dark. I mean, it's still beautiful, but it's
Yes,
much darker, and you see a lot more detail in the high quality digital photographs because the lighting is perfect, and the colors have been enhanced, and it looks really good in the photo. And if you look at the real life version, obviously it's very old and very big, and it's it's not worse. It's still amazing, but you can get almost more from the photo.
do you think that has ruined not exactly the experience per se? Because I mean, going to a museum is always fun. See
Yeah.
see the paintings or the a X, Y, and Z type of art that you can see face to face. Not almost like touching it without it. But I wonder if the new generation. I wonder because I don't know how is education now either. At least when I was in Pisa, it was very interesting that they still value take for a field trip to their kids and take them. No, we're gonna go and see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We're gonna go and see the cathedral. That's quite fantastic if you live in a world where like empires happen.
Oh yeah,
If you're
yeah, yeah.
yes,
Oh, some of this stuff is amazing. Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But I mean here, I mean Colombia, we do have great museums. We have I mean you've seen them, and
Yes.
but we don't have, I mean, the weight of a Roman Empire here.
No,
So
no,
I
no.
wonder if
Yes,
new social media has like damaged that for new kids, because they don't really need to go to Pisa anymore. If I'm from South
yes.
America, I don't need
Exactly,
to spend
exactly.
all these millions of pesos in this case, or thousands of dollars or euros to go and see the same tower that everybody sees in every single picture because we don't have even space when you go to these places. You go to the
It's
museums
busy.
or
Yeah.
anything, it's super busy. I mean, you don't see the art, you see the people making poses. It's I read somewhere
Taking
it was
selfies.
like
Yeah.
yes, I read somewhere or it was
Uh,
in a video like when you go to the Miracle Square, which is where the pizza thing is. It's a he said
yes,
like
yes.
it was going like it's it's like going into a cuckoo house, you know, the field of a cuckoo house, and it made so much sense Once I
Yeah,
was there, I was like,
because
oh
that
man,
is
it's
exactly
true.
what it is.
It's
It's
true.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is. It is. Like, um, I mean, if people have fun, that's how they decide to enjoy that particular, monument. But sure, okay, it's kind of harmless fun in a way. But the danger is like with something like, let's take our earlier example of the Mona Lisa. The danger is that you cheapen it so much that people stop caring about the original, and we lose this very important, part of our history. Um, you know, something is a TikTok hit for a couple of days, then it's over. Then we're on to the next big thing. And are there still people, kind of hanging around to preserve the actual, the actual art? You'll see a lot of like uh, really old, really neglected art and really old and really dilapidated museums all over the world. And it's not because people don't care. It's not because social media has desensitized them to this stuff. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that uh, perhaps, out of sight, out of mind, and the social media can distract us a little bit too much, one way or another.
Going back to what we were saying, social media became more a photo album, video album, archive. Is it virally, like making it viral? It's our new memory mechanism. Does it change it? Uh, what what can we consider culture now? Is it yes? What what's
Yeah, no,
culture?
no, I get it. It's a great question. I don't think I'm smart enough to give you an answer, to be honest. Like,
True
look, pop
story.
pop culture has always been a thing. Again, I can't stress it enough. It's not new. It's the speed with which it renews itself that's not new to us. In other words, Andy Warhol was a thing for a very long time. Okay. Uh, Post Malone probably not going to be around that long. Okay, and that's not saying anything here. I'm just saying that pop culture nowadays moves on very, very quickly.
Very quickly.
Okay, so I mean, to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know how would you qualify pop culture. There are some really famous memes that most anybody in the world would recognize right now, and that certainly is some type of culture. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those questions that I don't know if anybody does to themselves. I don't know if everybody just don't. I mean, in the world that we live now, where we are so dependent about culture rights and like no takeover of our other cultures, and this massive discussion of protecting culture. At the same time, we don't really have one. We're just perpetrating like what we believe or we grew up into a X, Y, and Z culture. But
That's exactly what culture is. I think the narrative on culture itself has been hijacked somewhat, and people aren't quite thinking about this as clearly as they could be, because it's obviously a sensitive topic. Um, but I mean, culture is what we make it. Again, it's just a reflection of us, and if you want to go into it, you can find all sorts of heavily cultural habits and micro cultures and all kinds of things that are happening. You even have like micro dialects. So if even the language that people speak, I mean, there was this English linguist, I can't remember his name, but this guy could tell you within a couple of streets in London what your address was by listening to you speak.
How you told me that. Uh,
Okay. Uh, so, I mean, and that's not, that's a form of culture. The language we use, and it's compartmentalized a little bit here and there. It's we're so immersed in it, we don't realize the cultures we even follow. I remember there's this famous internet clip, I think, of Dr. Fall, all right, and there's this guy, and they were talking about this whole cultural appropriation business, which is obviously a co-opted, a pretty silly argument to be making from both sides, to be honest. But here was this guy, sitting on live television talking to a Western psychiatrist, and he had on some probably some Italian loafer, something like this.
okay.
He was wearing this perfectly neat pair of starched starched Italian suit.
Yeah, yeah.
you know with the pants that were invented in Turkey, and
Oh my goodness.
he had his hair in dreadlocks, and he was talking about how other people were appropriating his culture, which is just so wonderfully ironic. You're so immersed in something that you can't even see it. You're drowning in culture right now. Everything we do is cultural, almost. That's what it is. It's the things that we do and the things that we like. So saying we have no culture, I cannot agree. Saying our culture is incredibly rapidly evolving, more so than ever, yes, definitely.
Seems like it's more
It's
subjective now. Like it's like whatever we do is it's not really something, or it might be something that unifies, that that's supposed to be what culture does,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
put us
yeah, yeah.
together.
It does.
But it seems at the same time that it become like an individual thing, like it's my culture, you know like we might have things in common, but at the same time we became too defensive of our own thing, which is
Yes.
very,
Yeah.
very interesting.
But again, it's only when you remove yourself from the culture that you're able to separate yourself from it, and that in itself immerses you in some sort of culture, albeit a subculture or whatever. Uh, what I'm saying is there is no escaping it. You can deny that you have any type of culture, or that these or those people. There is no escaping culture. Okay, it is what it is.
It is what it is. You were talking about memes, and it's very interesting because, to be fair, I mean, the meme culture for me was, before actually realizing what they are, is it was just a funny picture, so like somebody with a
Yeah,
really great sense of humor. However, it's like really actually listening to it. There is this podcast called Art History Babes, I think it is. And they were talking about it specifically to the memes. It's like it's a new type of art, like the abstract kind of thing. Why? Because I mean, to make a meme that actually has an echo in the society, you need to be able to know what you're talking about. It's not just taking a screenshot of this episode or that episode, and relate it with no sense of
yeah,
continuity. No, not like this type of shows that we used to see on board that started in the Roman Empire, and that in 2025 there was no relation whatsoever, not even the music. It was just
yeah,
like a
yeah,
pop up light. But they were saying this, like, actually we should consider meme a type of art in a way, because they
yeah,
actually require. You need to be able to be sensitive about what you're talking about. Not just like two photographs and just put in a random sentence, to make it beautiful. No,
Yeah,
no, no. You need to actually have a
yeah,
background.
yeah.
You need to understand what you're talking about. I don't think we understand that. I think we just like
No,
most of the
no.
people.
Well, I kind of agree. I do think memes is art. I think it's probably a form of comedy or satire, if you would. That's kind of new, and it's had a major impact on what you might call the worldwide culture. The culture of the shared culture. There are memes that all of us will recognize, like all of us. Okay, you might not be able to name them, but if I show you the picture on my phone, you're gonna go, I've seen that before. So that's a piece. Those things do become a shared culture, and I do think they are art. Um, but just like a lot of satire, I don't think the idea of the art form is to make you feel good necessarily. It's to make you feel, certainly, but not necessarily good. Sometimes it's good. Some of these memes are pretty dark. I've seen a few pretty dark ones.
Well, I think it goes with the with what we're living day by day. I mean, the world basically after the 2000s became dark. I mean, the world is about to
Yeah,
end every 12 years
yeah,
for some reason. 2000, we
yeah,
were good.
exactly.
2012, we were good.
Yes, yeah,
2025,
yeah,
let's say, we're still about to die. So I can
yeah,
understand why
exactly.
they're becoming way too dark. I mean, can blame them? No, they're actually taking advantage of it. They're making money out of our
Yeah,
suffering. I told you this. Well, I never finished, but I started a magister in art history, very long
yes,
time
yes.
ago, right? And there
Mhm.
was this teacher, um, this professor, I think it was, and obviously because his career, he's been like very classically trained in terms of art and everything, and he was not really a fan of like the art, the abstract art or the modern art, if you want to call it. Like he was saying that it was just opening the door to to say that anything can be a type of art, like, and we've seen those
Yeah.
videos where people actually
Oh yeah.
play with other
Oh,
people's
oh, this is madness.
exactly.
There is this thickness in the art world. I kind of feel the same about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
if we
I,
can prove it, it
like,
has to be real.
and I mean, okay, I absolutely get if your 5-year old brings you a picture of a little fucked up house and a stick man. That is art, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not. Okay. But when it comes to, professional artists, people who get paid exorbitant
insane.
sums of money sometimes, okay? Exorbitant. Okay. There was this ones that looked like they're just flinging a paintbrush at the thing and the artisan how the paint lands. Fuck off. You're just making a mess on a canvas and calling it art. So there is clearly a limit somewhere in between those two things, you know, of where art stops and insanity starts. Well, actually, I guess no. I guess the two have always been kind of hand in hand. But you know, the grade school, the primary school idea of at least you tried. It really doesn't work when it comes to professional artists because some of it just really sucks.
True story. It makes me. I got like frozen for a bit because it makes me think about a scene of a movie. I've told you this before as well, and it's quite known. It's with Omar Sy, and he is this French movie called Inseparables, and he's taking care of this gentleman is paraplegic. He cannot do anything but thinking. He cannot move, he cannot do anything without a help. And he has this wonderful taste for art. And he's going to buy a paint, and it's just like some sprinkles of red paint on a white canvas. And they're looking at it, and the art lady from the gallery and they are himself, they're looking at the canvas and they're like mesmerized, and like taking this deep meaning. It's like, oh my god, it's so intense, and it's absolutely beautiful. Okay, how much it does it cost? And I think it was like something like €1 million or something. It was an exorbitant amount of money. And this one, who is somebody who's never had a job, who is literally an immigrant, he's like getting built, like he's building himself in a way, and he listens to this amount of money. It's like, are you mad? Like, what? Like, why are you paying this amount of money? And the lady says like, I think it might be a mistake, let me just rectify the price. He was like, of course rectify it, I mean, that cannot be right. You cannot pay that amount of money, and they're like chit chatting, and she comes back and gives like, yes, I'm sorry, I was wrong, the price is actually this, and the price was higher than the original price. And this man got like really mad. I was like, you fucking kidding me? I was like, what? Like, I can do that. Like, I can do
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and I can
yeah.
get paid for that.
Look, if all of this wouldn't have been so sad if it was the artist making this money, right? But we
Yes.
all know that that's not what's happening. Like, we all know the process that this has gone through to get there to the point to that kind of value. You know, there's a very specific set of steps, if you
True.
will.
Uh,
So, I mean, what I'm saying is the sad part in all of this is that
mhm.
even though art fetches these prices, the artists themselves almost never see the money.
True story.
Okay.
No, no, no. In any field, and that's right
Yes.
now.
Yeah. Well, except music, I guess.
Now.
There was a time well, no, there was a time back when this was certainly the case. I think less so now, probably. I think they see way less of their profits nowadays, and much more of it is swallowed up by these big companies like, YouTube Music or whatever. But I mean, back in the day, it was a little bit different.
True story. But my point being with all this introduction was, did social media change our taste, or the limits and boundaries of what we consider actual art? Why? Because it's like we were saying before, no? It's a huge window for anybody, you know? Like, I want to be an artist. And now there is no actually, like, they actually open that door to, like, any art can be, like, anything can be an art. Any type of hmm, how would you call it? Anything you do can be art. So social media did that open a dangerous door that we don't really know what is actually has, or it's supposed to be considered art because it has techniques. I mean, that's it. Anyway, it's a profession, no? I mean,
No, no, look, I am a meritocracy. Okay. I feel like we should give people the credit they're due. Okay, so if in this scenario, let's see, like you have somebody buying and restoring an old car, and he does a really good job and he makes a really nice car, and millions of people watch him. That's certainly an art form. There is a broadcast art form juncture in there somewhere. You understand? And
mhm,
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's kind of the organic, natural way of art. The problem is once it's been filtered through all of these. I mean, people talk a lot about legacy media. Now,
mhm.
let's call this legacy art. Okay, now that legacy art can be anything, that's not necessarily a good thing. If you understand what I'm saying, you know. And it's no mistake that probably some of the best artists of our time will be seen as some of the more, they're going to be the Bankskys and and the
Yeah.
Shapiros of the world. They're not going to be, great portrait painters or, you know, the kind of Andy Warhol types. They're going to be people who are not involved in legacy art, almost certainly.
But that's in terms of like actual art in the sense of painting and making things. But But what about dancing? Like, do you think it's still getting? It used to be like a religion. It was supposed to be something sacred. Like if you were a ballerina
Do it.
or even a modern artist like a dancer, it used to be something so special. You had this talent now, but now I mean, Zumba changed that in a way. Like Zumba gave the it's a joke, but it's
I
true.
see.
Zumba gave it
Taibo,
started
first Taibo. Taibo, I think, was the start of
time. I love that, but it was just mixing martial arts and things like that. I was
Yes,
thinking about Zumba because Zumba literally was like learn to dance, and become a great
yes,
dancer
yes.
and things like that. And that was like the first little things that we start seeing about how dancing as an art changed and mutated. It didn't merge, it mutated. And now with TikTok, after the pandemic, like anybody was a dancer, you know if anyone
Yeah.
was a dancer, it was considered dance. I think the
Yeah.
only TikToker that I know, because I really don't follow, but the only TikToker that I know that was actually dance trained was this one, Charlie Camilio, I don't know how to say that.
Hmm.
And that she's actually in Broadway now, but like I do know she had some dance training in her early years. She was actually a dancer, not only a TikToker. That happened that way. Potato potato. That's okay. But now I feel like it opened the door as a like it's the TikTok or like Instagram dances and Zumba Instagram dances. It all became the new abstract art. Like if you can do 3 or 4 movements and make it look harmonical and coordinated, you can call yourself a dancer now.
Of course, yes, yes. But I guess that's always been the case. Okay, we all dance,
True
so
story.
we're in that sense, but uh, I mean, you have to keep in mind that all of these people are just people have always been interested in certain types of things, and dancing is one of those things. People friggin' love dancing. We probably liked it even back when we were in the cave. People like dancing. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think whether you're a good dancer or not should be left to other people to decide. A good a good example of this is, and I don't know this lady's name, but she was the Australian break dancer who went to the
Oh
Olympics and
yeah, yeah. Oh, poor
flopped
thing.
around on the ground like a dead fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she felt like she was pushing the boundaries there, and nobody had the heart to tell her until she got on the world stage and actually did that. Which means a lot of fucking people lied to her and patted her on the back and said, that's a great idea, love. Just go on ahead and pull those moves in the Olympics and see how that works out for you. And she did it. What? I'm sure she can actually dance. Maybe, I don't know. That's kind of beyond the point. It's like they missed the purpose of all of this. This is what I'm saying.
But do
Like
you
the
think?
purpose of dance was enjoyment. And if somebody makes TikTok videos and people enjoy it, then fucking that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
But how do
Yeah.
you think it changes now how we perceive that? Because, like I said before, like getting to a world stage, which is now it looks miniature because a world stage is a theater in Broadway, for example, which
Yeah.
used to be the world stage, and now the world stage is being like
An
super
actual
influential
world.
on.
Yeah.
Exactly, you have the world in your hand on a phone. So
Yeah.
do you think like modern, like new generations, they do aspire like I want to be like in flashing lights, my name in flashing lights on a Broadway stage? Do you think that that still has the merit, that still has the status, or it verted to, I don't want to be on flashing
Yeah.
lights on Broadway. Oh, that's a side job, you know. As- I just
Yeah.
want to be
Yeah.
widely
Yeah.
known now.
On TikTok because no, I mean, follow the money. Who do we pay more, Broadway actors or famous TikTokers? It's as simple as that.
Yes.
If you can perform to maybe 100 or 200 biggest fucking Broadways. I don't know how many seats those places have. They try to keep it nice and exclusive. It's
Mm-hmm.
generally not thousands. It's not exactly saying that. So if you could sell them each, a $60 or $70 ticket, or you can sell 20 million people a 5 cents ticket, the math is simple. Of course, there is going to be a quality drop because, like you said, now anybody can make a fancy dance video. But at the end of the day, people are still gonna, skip a few shit. So if enough people watch it to the end to get you picked up by the algorithm, means at least a few objective people have seen it and gone, nah, that's not too bad. I can fucking hit like or do whatever. So I don't see an issue with that as long as we don't get, you know, if we don't keep continuing in this direction of telling everybody that everything they do is just perfect and fine, because it's certainly not. Some people really fucking suck at things, and people don't have the heart to tell them because we all want to be nice and polite. But a little bit of friendly bullying might not be the worst thing in the world after all.
A friendly bullying. Think a lots of generations after our like after ours won't be up for it. I would say friendly bullying would be very offended by it.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean, people say, "Oh, bullying, bullying." It's gonna hurt. Well, if somebody went to that lady, okay, the Australian one with the breakdancing and whatnot, if somebody just went to her and made fun of her a little bit for what she was about to do, she would have probably changed the show, done something a little bit more conventional and came, fourth. Okay, I don't know. Maybe what I'm saying is possibly she could have changed her tactic and realized that that was not going to go down nearly as well as she thought. Because in their heads, they worked hard on that, and they just never took the moment to look at it and see what they're doing. You know, so if somebody had taken a moment to look at it, told her she looked like a dead fish flopping around on the ground, probably she would have done better. And we would have been spared that whole ridiculous saga of how this lady got to the Olympics if she flops around on the ground like a dead fish. Not a dead fish.
Interesting.
Dead fish don't flop, I guess.
Oh. I just wonder, like, besides that specific thing and whatever happens on like live television or whatever event that is happening at the moment. I wonder if we just don't know what is original material or not in terms of TikTok and Instagram. Because when the material goes to us, for example, and it has been reproduced 100 times, so we don't know who was like the actually original creator, writer, musician, whatever. Because now it's this is the era of the remixes, regardless.
Hmm.
Like
Oh yeah.
new generations don't really know about music anymore. They just know about like the Hotel California. Most of them a few of them don't know who actually wrote that song and who made it. They just know the nice, soft, lofty version that we hear
Yeah.
on what did you mean on TikTok, on Instagram. That makes me
Yeah.
think the first time I went to Italy and I started working, and they were playing this famous Latin American rock anthem, Lamento Boliviano, in a bachata style. And once
Hmm.
I spoke to the musician, to one of the musicians of the band. I said, like, I asked, like, do you actually know who's that song like from? Like, who made it? Which version made it? I was like, no, it's a bachata. It's a bachata. I mean, he really thought
Yeah.
it was an original bachata. I was like, no,
No.
no,
No, no, no.
no. So,
I see.
do
Yeah.
you think we just lost that curiosity to acknowledge the author? To just like saying, "Oh my
No,
goodness,
I
you're a
think we're just
genius."
too lazy. I think we're just too lazy to go and dig and find who is the author. This is something that kind of before was kind of well regulated. People would sign their work and all these kinds of things. But now, we live in plagiarism central. People are copying other people's successful TikTok accounts, reposting the entire thing as is, and raking in money. And there are all of these, bot farms all over the world, kind of shaping and creeping into the system and, working their little magic. It's becoming really difficult to find the origin of work. Okay, so
It
I
requires a
guess
lot of work.
it requires a lot of work that might not be easy and may not in some cases be possible. So yeah, I guess you're right. The ability for artists to claim possession of their work is somewhat compromised in the current system. I mean, it's been compromised forever. I mean, if you think, even Michael Jackson complaining that Sony was stealing his work, if they can do it to Michael Jackson, you bet your left bubble they'll do it to you.
True story, true story. So if these social platforms now, it's our new form of museums, theater, cinema, and everything. It's a new form of everything. What are what are preserving and what are we losing?
I mean, simply because the media changed, the media preserves a lot better. The ancient Romans made statues that have, since lost all of their color, and
Oh, we wouldn't
they're
have
no
enough
longer
space for everybody if we built
exactly,
that.
exactly. However, like the data in your cell phone, if stored properly, there is no reason why it couldn't last forever. And probably will, which is another thing why, it's so important to be careful what you put on there. But so art can now be forever. And we see this. We see, you talked about us rehashing things. That's exactly what a meme is. It's us taking this piece of art that somebody else made, and we can use it over and over, and we can maybe change the quote and use it over and over and over. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and before you know it, Kermit the Frog is, a, a, there is probably more photos of Kermit the Frog on the internet than anyone on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
That makes me think about Mr. Bean, you know,
Yeah,
because I mean, and I never actually fact checked that, but there was a video about how many actual Mr. Bean episodes are, and it's like 12.
yeah.
Like
There's
it
not a
was
lot
one
of them. He,
season
he
and
didn't
done.
like he didn't like doing it. He didn't. They had to
But
literally kiss his bum to come back and do it again every time.
then again, uh, we've seen. infinite amount of videos of this character that it makes you think that it was like a long run show. Like it was like Friends. I don't think even Friends
Oh,
has this type of many clips.
no, no.
I don't think so.
Look, look, like say about the English, whatever you want. Okay.
Oh, they go.
English humor is one of those gifts that can keep on giving. Okay, like if you go back and you watch the Monty Python series, there's not a lot. There's just a handful of them. You go and watch that stuff. It's even funnier today than back in the 80s when they were making it. Like it's mad how incredibly creatively funny those people were. And it's no surprise that that stuff will last forever. You know, it's the same. I'm not saying that American humor, they have their equivalents. You know,
No, it's just
they have
different
like
coding.
the
Yeah,
Naked Gun. Like the Naked Gun is kind of a similar type of vibe. It's still really kind of silly and funny, but it's
it's like
I think
it's like it's like The Office. Like I didn't know. I mean, we all know The Office, the American style, because it's Steve Carell and all these things that is widely known.
yeah,
But it really disappeared from the origin, which was The Office UK. You know, like the British one.
yeah.
It I mean,
Uh,
not everybody recognizes that it was something before because
I mean, talking about the art of comedy, and if you take it into the world of skit comedy, in other words, you know, these short scenes where you can do these skits and tell basically elaborate jokes, you're just not going to beat the British at that. Like, they're wonderful at it. And they've got a specific style and a specific class and things. But that's not to say that, you know, in other areas, I think American, you know, cartoon, you know, the cartoons, the adult cartoons like Adult Swim and those kind of things. I think that's hilarious. I think it's really fun. And I mean, they have to basically do that in order to be funny, because if anybody said the things that some of these characters say, they'd go to prison.
oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
cartoons,
yeah,
they were
yeah.
definitely
So,
not
so,
for
so
kids.
that's art finding a way, you know, for good or for bad, whatever that means. As long as it's funny, as long as it remains entertaining, there's nothing wrong. The problem is, it's a lot of times it's no longer funny or entertaining, and as you say, it's because if anything is good enough, then that's what you're gonna get.
So, on that note, do you think like being viral and like all the information we get charged every day on Instagram or Facebook or any social media you use? Because in the end, the algorithm seems like uh, choosing the information for you unless you're very careful with what you're looking for. Like it doesn't, like it's well known that it literally can pick up whatever you say and then show you all the information about your conversation. That's widely known. However, with that careless, because it's, for me, it's careless algorithm, does, I mean, the cultural experiences now are affected in a way, like, or they just really transform. We just in the moment of cultural experiences are anything now.
No, I mean, for cultural, it's like I said earlier. I don't think that Kermit the Frog is a bigger, better star and actor than, you know, uh,
20 years ago.
whoever named them. You know, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying Kermit the Frog fits better to the types of media that we're consuming than, you know, and that's why he's so damn popular. Certain things are going to work in certain mediums, and other things won't.
So it's gonna adapt as we go.
Yeah, yeah.
As
Just as it has been, you know, we see now with things like when we were growing up, you know, something like Saturday Night Live or the Daily Show, uh, there was Whose Line Is It Anyway? These types of shows were really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, they were really good TV. There aren't shows like that anymore. Okay, it's gone. It's dead. Humor on legacy media is up the window. Okay, you cannot make a joke about anything anymore. Okay,
And
so
if you wanna consume that, you need to
that's
go
sad.
in person. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's sad. So in some ways, it's doing exactly the opposite. In some ways, you can all take a picture of the Mona Lisa and share it, but in other words, I'm being invaded.
Do you
Um,
realize that
yeah.
that moment with the dog, it's gonna be like our museum of our memories, that it
I see.
might outlast us all?
It might. It's the like I say, it's the genie in the machine. Some things will work and some things won't.
Do you think there
You
is a way
gotta
for us
adapt.
to, do you think there is a way for us to curate what we see, to curate the algorithm? Or we will just have
Uh,
to pass
I
scrolling
mean,
whatever.
yes and no, not really. You're gonna see whatever somebody else out there wants you to see. Whoever's in control of that algorithm is gonna show you exactly what they want you to see. They might put things you actually want to see in between, okay? But it's always gonna be this is what I'm saying. Okay, these social media companies, they are companies. They do marketing. They sell. I said this in the beginning. They sell your time. Okay, it's always going to be about fitting the correct ad to the correct content. Okay, it's never going to be about art, and the art's going to get all muddied up by that rubbish. Okay, so that's always going to be a thing. And
Is it a,
that's why some people now have to, if you want to have a laugh on a Saturday night, you can't turn on the TV anymore. You have to get your ass down to a comedy show and see it in person because people are actually allowed to be funny in some places. On TV, that's not the case.
so for us as a society to be able to preserve cultural experiences and art expressions, what do you think we need to do? It's just like you just said, just like
I think
leave.
a lot of people are doing it. If you think about like the online tours we've taken of the museums there was one Dutch one. I think that's a really good use of the internet in our time, and that's a way we can really use the internet to help preserve art. You also see a lot of you also see a lot of people, kind of post a picture of a painting on the interweb and asking people how much it's worth because they have no clue what they have. And then it turns out, it's some old rare pieces of art that comes up. And so there are definitely positives. It's not all doom and gloom. We can use these things in a positive way. It's just not going to be a marketing agency who's going to facilitate that. So somebody else needs to do it. I mean, the government would be nice, but the government is absolutely terrible at absolutely everything. So that leaves the private sector. That's why, people like are doing these things on their own time and dime, and they're doing some pretty cool stuff, like
Good.
3D scanning ancient Egyptian artifacts and showing it to. I think that's wonderful. That's a brilliant idea.
And if we can curate the experiences and make sure that people actually know history with the new technologies instead of like changing our history for like I mean it's impressive that now it's part of history books that there used to be famous TikTokers who made a lot of millions with dancing.
But
Okay. I mean, it's part of our
That's,
history, I would
this
say.
is what I was saying. This is what I was saying earlier. You know, like what's famous, 50 years from now, nobody is going to know who Mr. Beast was. He's still going to be alive and living somewhere. He's probably still going to be wealthy, but nobody's going to remember what made Mr. Beast Mr. Beast. Okay, it's just not it's that doesn't have the longevity. It never meant to have the longevity. It's a quick instant thrill, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't, it's not. You're not some famous, brilliant Art Deco director because you can make a lot of money on TikTok. Mr. Beast, like I said, he's not exactly Quentin Tarantino. So, so again, horses for courses, and on that particular course, that kind of bite-sized bite-sized fame kind of works, and people make a lot of money out of it. Some people will obviously be very, very famous for a very, very long time. Some of them not for good reasons, for instance. But
Of course.
you
Of course.
know, but
I
um,
mean,
but essentially, it's not gonna be the last thing. You're not gonna get the Picassos anymore. There aren't gonna be. That's not gonna be a thing. We're going to forget about these people really fast. Just like we do it already, But probably already there are a whole bunch of people sitting around. Who's Mr. Beast?
yeah, because they will just see
The
the new
world has moved on.
remixes of something. Yeah, it moves
Exactly.
every single day. But yes,
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot today, a lot, and we can keep talking about this for many, many days, years, wherever. It's a never-ending subject. Thank you again. Thank you for being my guest co-host,
Thank
and
you.
I will see you next time.
Gracias por quedarte hasta el final. Si algo de lo que escuchaste hoy te tocó el alma, puedes apoyarme en Ko-fi o Patreon. Ahí esta voz se alimenta. Con tu apoyo, esta cosecha crece. Los links están en la descripción. Hasta la próxima.